Here are the top stories for today, August 28, 2019. The European Union assures the Philippines that none of its funding has been used on communist activities. The government dares militant women's group Gabriela to side with the mothers of minors recruited by the CPP-NPA. President Duterte hits the Aquino administration for excluding the Aquino-owned Hacienda Luisita from land reform. And General Santos City announces a bigger and grander Tuna Festival this year.
Good day, I'm Rom Dulfo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story, no funding from the European Union has been spent on any communist activities. That's according to European Ambassador to the Philippines, Franz Gensan, as he stressed the existing terrorist tag on the Communist Party of the Philippines and its military arm, the New People's Army. EU Ambassador to the Philippines, Franz Gensan, said Tuesday that EU has several requirements before funding a non-government organization, and it also conducts a regular financing check. Last April, the delegation commissioned a firm for a financial audit on some EU contracts being questioned by the government for links to the CPP-NPA and its alleged front organizations. The firm was not able to identify any irregular or awkward expenditure on the part of the groups they finance. Gensan said EU is not supporting the CPP-NPA because it will be seen as going against their legislation on terrorists. The Philippine government in March urged the European Union to stop funding local organizations allegedly linked to the CPP-NPA, which includes the Rural Missionaries of the Philippines. Senator Amy Marcos has urged the Education Department to submit a report on the implementation of its policies and programs in providing education to indigenous peoples. Marcos, who is the chair of the Senate Committee on Cultural Communities, made the call during a Senate hearing on the suspension of 55 Salugpungan schools which cater to indigenous peoples communities across Davao region. She asked the department about its efforts to ensure accessible and quality education for IP learners, as well as other alternatives such as non-formal and informal learning systems in the region. She also requested for the proper accounting of displaced learners to ensure that they will continue their education amid the temporary closure of the 55 schools. Meanwhile, the National Security Advisor Jimenez Esperon Jr. said the alleged use of Salugpungan schools by the New People's Army does not adhere to international norms and Philippine laws. Esperon, who chairs the task force to end local communist armed conflict, cited the optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child on the Involvement of Children in Armed Conflict, which states that armed groups distinct from the armed forces of a country should not, under any circumstances, recruit or use in hostilities persons under the age of 18 years. He also cited the Republic Act 11188, which provides that children in situations of armed conflict have the right to be protected from recruitment into government forces or armed groups and from participation in armed conflict. The mother of a student who went missing after being allegedly recruited by a progressive youth organization on Tuesday asserted that she has the right to be with her daughter. More on this from Teresa Montemayor.
Complainant Relisa Lucena dares militant groups to put themselves in her place for them to understand her agony as a mother. Lucena is the mother of Alicia Jasper, who was enticed to join the communist movement a year ago when she was still a senior high school student. She and other parents of children who were similarly recruited attended the preliminary investigation at the DOJ. Present during Tuesday's hearing were correspondents Bayan Muna Party List Representative Nery Colmenares, Kabataan Party List Representative Sara Elago, and former Interior and Local Government Undersecretary and Akbayan Party List Representative Tomasino Villarin. However, summoned members of the Anakbayan Moraita Far Eastern University were unable to attend the hearing. They are facing violation of Republic Act 10364 or the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2003, kidnapping, the laws on special protection of children in armed conflicts, and laws prohibiting child abuse. Meanwhile, Major General Antonio Parlade Jr. of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict or NTF-LCAC urged the militant women's group Gabriela to take up the cudgels for grieving mothers. Parlade said it is high time for Gabriela to stand up for 8,635 grieving mothers so that their children can all be safely returned home. Parlade added that the AFP and the government will do everything they can to return these children safely to their loved ones and to provide a better life even if they are already full-time communist rebels. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Teresa Montemayor.
President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered the immediate creation of a coordinating committee between the government of the Philippines and the Moro National Liberation Front. He says he wants to start the discussion by mid-September. Presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo said the president relayed his desire for immediate formation of a GPH-MNLF panel to Ms. Wari when the two met in Davao City last Friday. He said the president also instructed the Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation and Unity to convene the GPH-MNLF Coordinating Committee by the second week of September in Davao City for agenda setting and for the start of discussions. Panelo said the GPH-MNLF Coordinating Committee has full support of the Office of the President in achieving the common goal of resolving the conflict in Mindanao. Ms. Wari, for his part, expressed hope that the Organization of Islamic Cooperation would be involved in the consultations to determine the remaining compliance of the GPH in the 1996 final peace agreement with the MNLF. The Department of Justice suspends the processing of Good Conduct Time Allowance or GCTA for inmates. And the MMDA says 90% of national roads are already cleared. These and other news around the metro from Bench Bondo.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority on Tuesday reported that 90% of national roads and mabuhay lanes are now cleared, while 60% of inner roads in Metro Manila are also free of obstructions. MMDA General Manager Jose Arturo Jojo Garcia came out with a report after meeting with Metro Manila mayors to discuss the local government unit's compliance with President Rodrigo Duterte's order to reclaim public roads. Meanwhile, the Commission on Elections said it is looking to start the registration of overseas voters in December in connection with the May 2022 national and local polls. COMELEC Office for Overseas Voting Director Eliza David said the overseas voter registration period is likely to start before the end of the year. Filipinos abroad who are at least 18 years old on the day of elections and are not otherwise disqualified by law are allowed to register as an overseas voter. The registration period started last August 1 and will end on September 30. In other news, Justice Secretary Minaldo Guevara has ordered officials of the New Bilibid prison to suspend the processing of Good Conduct Time Allowance for prisoners. The impending review of Republic Act 10592 came in the wake of public uproar following earlier reports that convicted rapist and murderer former Calauan Laguna Mayor Antonio Sanchez is among those who will be entitled to an early release from prison due to a June 25 Supreme Court ruling. The SC was quick to clarify that it did not order to release Sanchez and that it merely interpreted the law. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Bench Bondo.
Still to come, President Duterte hits the Aquino administration for excluding the Aquino-owned Hacienda Luisita from land reform. Relief goods pour in for typhoon victims in Ilocos Norte. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Ano ang Pilipinas noong 1960s? Noong 1960s, ang Pilipinas ay pangalawa sa may pinakamalaking ekonomiya sa buong Asya na sumusunod sa bansang Japan. Natamasa ng Pilipinas ang pinakamalaking pag-unlad ng ekonomiya nito mula 1972 hanggang 1979. Ngunit sa pagsibol ng CPP noong December 26, 1968 at NPA noong March 29, 1969, isang revolusyonaryong organisasyon ang itinatag ni Jose Maria Cis na naglalayong pabagsakin ang gobyerno at patuloy na humahadlang sa pag-unlad ng Pilipinas sa loob ng 50 taon. Ang CPP-NPA ay 50 taon nang gumagamit ng mga kabataan mula sa iba't ibang universidad upang maglungsad ng kaliwat kanang protesta laban sa sariling gobyerno. 50 taong pangingikil sa mga maliliit at malalaking kumpanya sa bansa. 50 taong mga pagpatay na nagbibigay ng takot sa mga negosyanteng gustong mamuhunan dito sa Pilipinas. 50 taong pagpatay sa mga libo-libong lumad na hindi sumusunod sa kagustuhan ng NPA. 50 taong pagre-recruit at pagsasamantala sa mga kabataan upang gamitin sa madugong revolusyon. 50 taong pagsira ng CPP-NPA sa mga kabataan na magsisilbisa ng pag-asa sa bansang Pilipinas. Sa loob ng 50 taong kaguluhan, pagpatay at pananamantala ng CPP-NPA. Mayroon bang naitulong ang CPP-NPA sa pag-unlad ng ating bansang Pilipinas? Hahayaan ba nating wasakin ng CPP-NPA ang demokratikong proseso ng ating bansa at palitan ng komunistang ideolohiya?
President Duterte on Tuesday distributed certificates of land ownership award to former beneficiaries in Tarlac. During a ceremony at the Department of Agrarian Reform Gymnasium in Quezon City, the president described the exclusion of the Hacienda Luisita from the Agrarian Reform Program as the greatest aberration done to former beneficiaries. The president said although he has nothing against the Aquino family, former beneficiaries should have been awarded with portions of the land in Tarlac. Here's a portion of his speech.
Maghito muna ako dito and I'd like to just say a few words. I'd like to state very clearly that I have nothing against the Aquino family. Yung dalawang presidente, pati ang pamilya. I'd like to put it in record that for the first two Aquino presidents, sumuporta po kami, ang pamilya namin sa Davao. Because we believed in Corazon Aquino, and I happened also to just the best that was available during at that time. Pero the greatest aberration, if I look back in time, alam mo, kung ako siguro ang naging malapit lang naman makapagbulong o to make the suggestion na will not irritate yung sinasabihan ko. Alam mo yung the greatest aberration sa land reform was the Philippines was declared the whole of the country as a land reform program area. Pero tinanggal nila ang Doña Luisita.
Senator Bongo defended the establishment of Arcade Centers after Albay Congressman Edsa Lagman called the one-stop shop for medical and financial assistance a partisan tool. During the deliberations on the 2020 national budget, Lagman said the Arcade Center being championed by Go is a partisan tool rather than a medical outlet. In his privileged speech at the Senate on Tuesday, Go lashed at Lagman by telling not to be anti-poor. He told Lagman to think of the millions of Filipinos who benefited from this program, including his own constituents from Albay. Go also debunked claims that the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office, or PCSO, funds the operations of Arcade Centers. Go called on his fellow lawmakers to support Senate Bill number 199, which seeks to establish Arcade Centers in government hospitals all over the country to complement the universal healthcare law. Around 350 budding and would-be entrepreneurs in Pauay, Ilocos Norte participated in the launching of the Negosyo sa Barangay in Veronica Village. The Negosyo sa Barangay is a flagship program of the Department of Trade and Industry, which aims to empower entrepreneurs from underserved communities. The program features a one-stop shop of DTI services for micro, small, and medium enterprises, such as assisting them in business registration and how to boost their business skills. The DTI said this is the second NSB that was launched in the province this month next to Adamstown. Other villages under the 4th, 5th, and 6th income classification municipalities such as Karasi, Corimao, Bangi, and Bana will follow suit. By 2022, the DTI is eyeing to develop 200,000 new enterprises in the country. The Presidential Communications Operations Office is enjoining local government units to pass a Freedom of Information Ordinance. PCOO Assistant Secretary Christian Ablan led the PCOO Roadshow on FOI and media security at the Cebu Normal University. He said the PCOO partnered with the Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, in disseminating the administration's advocacy in making government records accessible to the public. The DILG and the PCOO are encouraging towns, cities, and the provinces to institutionalize FOI under Executive Order No. 2 signed by President Duterte. This is in preparation for the year 2020 when FOI becomes one of the criteria for the seal of good local governance. 15 LGUs in the country have passed an ordinance institutionalizing FOI. The Duterte administration is in constant coordination with the lawmakers for the passage of a legislated FOI law. Ilocos Norte receives hundreds of food packs for typhoon victims. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police and the Philippine Coast Guard join a beach cleanup drive in Negros Oriental. More on this and other news from the provinces from Janice Cave.
Various donors, including the People's Republic of China, have sent family food packs that could last for a day or two to typhoon victims in Ilocos Norte. Governor Matthew Joseph Manotoc thanked the generous donors for helping the province cope with the effects of Typhoon Ineng and Jenny. Due to the extent of Ineng's damage, the provincial board has placed Ilocos Norte province under a state of calamity. In South Cotabato, health services are expected to get a boost with the expansion this year of the national government's Malasakit Center program. South Cotabato Governor Reynaldo Tamayo Jr. said Tuesday he is planning to put up the Malasakit Center at the South Cotabato Provincial Hospital. He said the center would mainly cater to patients of the provincial hospital who come from parts of the province and neighboring areas, including Maguindanao. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police in Negros Oriental and the Philippine Coast Guard have teamed up with an environmental group by collecting trash from the sea in Dumaguete. The Students Towards Environmental Welfare and Research for Development and Sustainability, or STEWARDS, of Silliman University led on Monday the beach cleanup activity in celebration of National Heroes Day. 2 dives were carried out at Silliman Beach in Barangay Bantayan and the stretch from Candayong in Barangay Kalindagan to the city port. The activity included a waste assessment and brand audit to identify which companies have the most wastes in the ocean. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Up next, President Duterte expresses support for family planning in the country. General Santos City announces a bigger and grander Tuna Festival this year. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Ating suportahan ang NTF-LCAC ng pamahalaan.
Ano nga bang NTF-LCAC? Ito ay National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict na naglalayong supuin ang insurhensya, krimen at karahasan na gawa ng CPP-NPA sa pamamagitan ng Rule of Nation approach. Ito ay binubuo ng mga ahensya ng gobyerno na naglalayong supuin ang komunismo sa mapayapang paraan at para tulungan sila na makapagsimula ulit ng bagong buhay. Pinapangunahan ito ni Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte at pinapangalawahan ng National Security Advisor. Ito ay binubuo ng mga sumusunod na ahensya ng gobyerno: Department of Interior and Local Government, Department of Justice, Department of National Defense, Department of Public Works and Highways, Department of Budget and Management, Department of Finance, Department of Agrarian Reform, Department of Social Welfare and Development, Department of Education, National Economic and Development Authority, National Intelligence Coordinating Agency, Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace Process, Presidential Advisor for Indigenous Peoples' Concerns, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine National Police, National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, Presidential Communications Operations Office, at mga representatibo galing sa pribadong sektor. Magkakaisa at magtutulong-tulong ang bawat ahensya ng gobyerno upang tugunan ang ugat ng karahasan na nangyayari sa bansa. Kaya't halina't makiisa at maging bahagi ng NTF-ELCAC. Sama-sama nating wakasan ang mga panloloko at panggugulo ng CPP-NPA. Yes to ELCAC now!
President Duterte has expressed support for the implementation of a family planning program in the country. In a speech during the 31st anniversary of the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, the President notes among farmers in Davao, many have at least 6 to 7 children. He said in this situation, child rearing will be a heavy burden, especially for poor families. The President said he and former President Fidel Ramos have so far been the only leaders who have pursued family planning despite opposition from the religious sector. He also maintained his position not to allow abortion to be implemented in the country. The President earlier criticized Iceland for allowing abortion as a birth control policy. Bacolod City, home of the annual Mascara Festival, will host the 2019 edition of the IMACO International Conference on November 5 to 8. IMACO, or the International Mask Arts and Culture Organization, has chosen Bacolod City to host this year's conference in efforts to preserve the world's mask culture. IMACO Secretary General Kilsang Yu says the Bacolod Conference is seen to become the biggest IMACO gathering so far. For his part, Mayor Evelio Leonardia said this shows the Mascara Festival now truly belongs to the world, being among the world's most prominent mask festivals. In Quezon, the municipality of Infanta topped the Agri-Booth Trade exhibit held as part of the just concluded Nyug-Nyugan Festival. Out of the 2.9 million peso total sales of the Infanta booth, Suman garnered a total of 1.51 million pesos, making it the town's best-selling product during the 10-day trade exhibit. Infanta Suman is hailed for its full flavor, as it is made of high-quality sticky rice and coconut milk. Infanta was overall Nyug-Nyugan Festival 2019 winner, not just in the agri-booth sales, but also in the street dancing, binibining Nyug-Nyugan, and float competitions. Meanwhile, curated tour packages around the Philippines, including Tawi-Tawi, will be put on sale at the 2019 Philippine Travel Mart. The Philippine Tour Operators Association on Tuesday said Tawi-Tawi is known for its unspoiled beaches and breathtaking dive sites, but news of bandits and lawless groups in the area have discouraged tourism. This year's Philippine Travel Mart edition will offer up to 70% off travel packages, accommodations, and airfare. The tours will be offered at the Expo from August 30 to September 1. In our foreign news, Indonesia is moving its capital from Jakarta to East Kalimantan, a province on the island of Borneo. Indonesia is in a race against sea level rise, which threatens to submerge swaths of its capital city, Jakarta, by 2050. Jakarta is currently sinking by up to 6.7 inches per year, making it especially vulnerable to sea level rise and floods in recent years. Officials announced a $33 billion plan to relocate the capital. Construction on infrastructure for the new capital is set to begin in 2021. Environmentalists, however, warn that it could endanger Borneo's remaining forests and raise carbon emissions. General Santos City is gearing up for a more spectacular tuna festival this year with more attractions, activities, and chances for visitors to savor the city's famous tuna. More on this from Janice Cabe.
Locals and tourists alike are expected to experience new flavors of the famed tuna from the thriving multi-million industry of General Santos City as it unveils a bigger and grander Tuna Festival 2019. Festival Director Rofil May Rillo said Tuesday that this year's week-long festival has been invigorated to bring a more authentic feel and taste of what the city offers as the country's tuna capital. Now in its 21st year, the festival is set to open on Friday, August 30 and will run until September 5, the city's 51st inaugural anniversary. Rillo said this year's festival is being celebrated as the city hosts the annual National Tuna Congress as one of the highlights. As part of the festival's new flavors, organizers introduced a new logo and reimagined theme music. They also adopted the Atlantis theme for the setup of the main festival venue at the city's sprawling Oval Plaza grounds. One highlight is the Sashimi Street that promises to give residents and visitors a chance to taste various top tuna products. The other events are the grand opening and fireworks display, Layag Tuna Float Parade, Lumba Bugsay, Sugbahan sa Dalan, Fish Fest sa Fishport, Mr. and Miss Tourism Pageant, Gabi ng Mandaragat, Tuna Culinary Exchange, and the Tuna Man Triathlon. Rillo said they're also working to establish the festival as a sustainable tourism initiative through various environmental activities, including distribution of fabricated fish bins around the city and collecting recyclable waste. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Damages and losses brought about by severe tropical storm Ineng reached 163 million pesos as of Tuesday. The Department of Agriculture reported that the increase in numbers was attributed to the reports from Ilocos Norte with 33.3 million pesos worth of losses and Batanes with 1.46 million losses. Agri-infrastructure such as irrigation facilities contribute to most of the damages and losses at 122 million pesos. The DA says it is distributing a total of 18.1 million pesos worth of rice, corn, and vegetable seeds, as well as emergency financial assistance to affected farmers in the Ilocos region. Meanwhile, the Angat Dam's water level continues to recover, with allocations for Metro Manila and irrigation expected to rise gradually soon. As of Wednesday morning, Angat's water level increased to 181.69 meters following days of heavy rains. The National Water Resources Board approved for September 2019 a 40 cubic meters per second allocation of Angat water for Metro Manila. NWRB also approved National Irrigation Administration's proposed 30 cubic meters per second allocation for next month's irrigation of Angat service areas. Here's another look at today's biggest stories.
The European Union assures the Philippines that none of its funding has been used on communist activities. The government dares militant women's group Gabriela to side with the mothers of minors recruited by the CPP-NPA. President Duterte hits the Aquino administration for excluding the Aquino-owned Hacienda Luisita from land reform. And General Santos City announces a bigger and grander tuna festival this year.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, check PNA website or the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of latest news and information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Rom Dulfo. Good day.